It's been 3 weeks since our last video and we are now reunited with our 1M in the USA, more specifically at FCP Euro. You thought the car was done, it's not done. We have absolutely lots of work to do to this, so let's get it into the workshop and get started. So we're now inside FCP Euro's workshop and I've got Gareth with me who's going to be doing most of the work on the car. Gareth, I think we're just going to talk through in general the parts we're going to put on the car, and then as you're fitting them we'll go into a bit more detail.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to be doing something very similar that we did with you guys on the
Japan Ready
92 M3, but we're taking a couple steps further. We are going to be installing an F80 brake conversion, which is becoming very popular on this generation of BMW. We're obviously going to take care of the exhaust while it's here. Rear subframe's coming out. We're going in deep on this car, and we have very little time to do it.
Yeah, like 2 days. So the Japan Red car, with the changes that we made, absolutely transformed it. So I'm really looking forward to what this is going to drive like with the extra bits that we're going to do. So Gareth, this is your domain. What's the next step?
Really just going to try to attack this in steps. I'm going to focus on front suspension first, get the exhaust out of there. We're going to have to drop the rear subframe. Brakes will be last, exhaust will then be after that. But really just going to get cracking as fast as I can because SEMA's in what, like 3 weeks?
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so we need to get this thing done in a couple days, off the alignment shop, and you got a lot more to do after that. So
I'll leave you to it.
All right, let's get into it.
So Gareth, I can see the front suspension is off the car. We have the old suspension here, and we also have what we're going to replace it with. It's quite a lot of parts on this table, so let's go through them.
We have a bunch of components here sitting on the table. We're going to talk about some of the options and some of the things we're going to be doing. Most notably, because we are doing the F80 brake conversion, we need to swap to the F80 front knuckle. With that said, we have the original E92 or 1M knuckle with the F80 knuckle. Pickup points are entirely the same, so there is no geometry change, at least in terms of where your tension strut or wishbone are located. But really, the only reason you need to swap to that knuckle is for the proper spacing for the Brembo caliper, which is part of that F80 upgrade. Along with that, we've also made a decision on the spot, because we have the warehouse here, to go with the F80 wheel hubs, which is going to allow you guys to run the M14 wheel hardware over the M12 wheel hardware, which is a lot safer. And along with one of the upgrades we've done in the Japan Red car you guys did was the Synchro DesignWorks thrust arm monoball, which removes a lot of that sponginess. And
that made a huge difference. The car is so pointy. It's removed bump steer as well, from what I can tell. So when you go over a bump, the steering wheel stays straight rather than you having to move it. So that made a huge difference on that car.
Yeah, we have a video from way back in the day where we put a camera in the wheel well on a stock rubber bushing, and you could just see the whole thing just move in and out all over the place. And the before and after, it's a notable difference. But the big thing that you can talk about is...
Yeah, so this is our version of the Bilstein B6 Damptronic, which is compatible with a factory EDC. Bilstein do make great products, but you have to remember that they tune their dampers for German roads, which are super smooth. And this is part of the problem that BMW M has, and why sometimes they don't ride so well on undulating roads, because they're set up on smoother roads. When you get to a road like we have in the UK, car gets a little bit unsettled. This was no different. The standard one was okay, but we knew it could be improved. So I worked with Bilstein UK. We've made the normal setting slightly softer than their version, and the Sport Plus slightly stiffer. And what that allows for is a much more compliant ride on the road in comfort. And if someone is taking it on the track, it's a little bit stiffer, so it can give them more track ability. We've paired that up with MSS height adjustable spring. It's important to note that it only works with this height adjustable spring and not something like a KW has or M Performance, because on those kits you have to knock the stock spring perch off, and this works with the stock spring perch. And the trick with the MSS, especially on the rear, is that it has a stacked arrangement of springs, so it has multiple spring rates on the rear, which other kits don't have, and it provides even more compliancy, gives more grip for the rear wheels on the road, so you just have more traction, more drivability. So I was really happy with this setup on the Japan Red, and I'm sure it'll be awesome on this.
And this car does have the adaptive suspension from the original donor car, so.
It does. So originally the car was full EDC stock dampers, and the previous owner was sold a set of nitrons she just did not need. It rides really stiff. It kind of spoils the car. I know what this is like because we sell it to lots of customers, and obviously you guys sell it as well now, so people can buy it from FCP, and it's a perfect setup for fast road and occasional track.
Perfect.
In a previous video, I said that we're going to take this car slightly further, the Japan Red E92 M3, and one of the things we wanted to address on that car was the brakes, which we haven't got round to. Gareth and FCP have come up with a really good solution, so we're going to go through that now.
Yeah, so what we have here is a retrofit using F80 brake components. So the F80 M3, F82 M4 got the benefit of a fixed mounting caliper, 4-piston front, 2-piston rear. Those same calipers are also the same calipers on like an F30 M Performance car. It's really the knuckle in the front that sets the rotor size. Rears are just bolt on these cars on the stock knuckle, minus a little bit of spacing. We'll get to that in a moment. But what we've chosen to do is we're using Brembo extra calipers, which are the same thing as the M Performance caliper without the BMW price tag associated with it. These brand new are essentially the price of what used calipers will go for like eBay. So at least you know you're getting new. You don't have to worry about the condition of the caliper. Nice thing is, because they are OEM parts, you have tons of pad options. You have rebuild kits available for the calipers. You don't have to go to specialty sources in order to service this stuff. To take it one step further, we are using 034 Motorsport true floating calipers. So these actually are bolted on friction ring, which can be serviced. So they're a little bit lighter, but more importantly, it can be serviced, which is ultimately going to be a cost savings long term if you're tracking the car. And then on top of it, normally you'd have to trim the rear backing plate. We have a backing plate that we designed in-house here, along with a spacer that attaches the backing plate, so the caliper will be perfectly positioned in the back. You don't have to worry about shimming or anything crazy like that, but it all goes on the car and works like you would expect an OEM brake kit to work.
I mean, that's a massive advantage using the OEM parts, having lots of pad options so people can choose a pad that suits their needs. And you know it's going to be reliable as well. And I think the price point is fantastic on this.
Yeah, you know, most of your big brake kits are, at least in the United States, $5,500, $6,000 per axle. We offered this specific one with the 034 Motorsport rotors, just a little over $5,000 with the knuckles. If you went with the OEM F80 rotors, that takes about $1,000 off the price tag. So, I mean, to do a 2-axle big brake kit on any car for anywhere in that price range is almost unheard of. So. It's a big improvement. I've done this on my own E92 M3. It's pretty much a 9-day difference. It's the way the car should have been from the factory, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you've been running that for quite a while.
Since August, so 2 months. It's been great.
Well tested.
Yeah, exactly.
rowdies.
Removed. It's a bit crusty, but it's really not that bad.
It's day 2 at FCP, and last night Gareth got the front axle done and put the F80 brakes on. They look great, really nice OEM upgrade, and I'm looking forward to see how they perform. Alex took the rear subframe down, and there's lots to do on this. So Gareth, can you take us through what we're going to be fitting to this subframe?
Absolutely. As we can see, this is all looking pretty tired, so it's all being replaced. First and foremost, to lock down the rear, we're going to go with the RevShift aluminum subframe mounts, which you guys also did in the Japan Red M3.
We did, made a huge difference.
We're also going to be going with the OE style Mila control arms, which we started carrying this year. We have the RevShift billet trailing arms, which are doing a monoball conversion from their standard rubber mounts. We'll also be converting the camber link to a monoball style bushing. And to kind of round off the entire upgrade of this car, we're going with F80 rear wheel hubs, which is going to, again, allow us to run larger wheel hardware for safety. And of course, the F80 brake conversion in the rear, just like the front. Also adjustable sway bar links so that we can adjust the preload on the sway bar. And also, we're gonna be doing the PowerFlex sway bar mounts because no other way to do it unless the subframe is out. So no time to do it like the present. A lot of work to do, so we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. have the entire rear subframe assembly ready to go back in the car. Do want to talk about a couple things before we get into the parts that we installed. Yes, we know that the subframe looks kind of nasty. It's got some surface corrosion on it, but here's the thing. It's still in structurally good condition, and the car just needs to be ready. So we went ahead and installed the new parts on this older subframe. It's gonna be fine. There's no worries about that. That said, we did run into a couple of problems. Number one, we had some really rusty brake lines that come over the top of the subframe. They're a super common problem on these cars. We had them in stock, so it made sense to go ahead and install them. We also had rusty brake lines on the car. So we had 2 brake lines that broke while we're trying to remove them. It's normally these junction lines that sit up here towards the rear left of the car. Again, common problem, so we had to flare kind of new lines this morning to fix it. So it kind of set us behind. And then on top of that, we had the rear left axle that could not be removed from the wheel hub due to some of the worst corrosion I think I've ever seen. I was warned about that before I got into it, but we're here in New England, we have the same problem, so I was humbled. It's the only axle I've not been able to remove, and you can kind of see the remnants here on this original knuckle from the car. But we were able to get a new knuckle and axle for that other side, so we're able to move on with the project. But we'll start with some of the parts that we installed. We have the F80 wheel hub sitting in there, so that's, again, allowing us to run the larger M14 wheel hardware, which is much safer. We have the Mila OE style upper control arms and toe link here in the rear. We installed monoballs for the trailing arm. So instead of those being just normal rubber bushings, these actually now articulate, and there's not gonna be any deflection there. We're using RevShift billet aluminum trailing arms, RevShift billet aluminum subframe mounts, which is really going to tie down the rear end of the car. We have SPL adjustable sway bar links, so we could set preload on the sway bar, not have to worry about the sway bar affecting the ride height of the car. We also went with PowerFlex sway bar bushings. It made total sense to replace them while the subframe was down out of the car. Normally you can't get to them unless the subframe is lowered somehow. And then on top of it, we've mocked up the rear brake conversion. So we have 034 Motorsport 2-piece rotors. We have our dust shield in the back that we've made specifically for this application, along with the adapter for the caliper. Now, it looks a little bit loose, and that's because it's just loosely installed right now. Once everything is tightened down in the car, it all fits nice and tight. Everything lines up perfectly. And with that said, we do need to get this back in the car because we are on day 3. So that's the next step.
The guys at FCP Euro have done a fantastic job of the suspension refresh, and that's nearly finished, which means we can move on to the next part. Usually doing an engine swap into a different chassis means custom exhaust work, but the guys at Supersprint do some crazy exhaust work in terms of doing exhausts that are off the shelf for engine conversions. If you don't believe me, check their website out. It's absolutely insane, and lots of people don't know about it. So what we have here is an off the shelf front exhaust, which is designed for the S65 into an E82 chassis, and we're hoping that's going to mate up with this beautiful titanium Akra exhaust. Akra doesn't need any introduction. They make some of the best exhausts in the world. They're titanium, they're super light, and they also sound amazing. I'm really looking forward to hearing what all of these exhaust parts sound like, and we're also hoping that they're going to bolt together, because I don't think anyone's done this combination before. So let's get it on the car, and I can't wait to fire it up.
I'm a happy boy that I got to rev this. I'm a solid FIA license away from ever doing that normally, so that's very cool.
But mate, your car's going to be special as well.
Oh, I appreciate that.
As I said, I want a replica of it.
You're right.
Maybe with a P65 in it. Man.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Feel free.
Are you going to dry something?
Sorry? This stage of the car has been completed. The drivetrain has been completely renewed by the guys at FCP. Massive thank you to them, especially Gareth and Alex. The UK car did throw up some surprises because we have a lot of salt on our roads. There's lots of parts that didn't come off the way they should have and lots of parts that needed to be replaced. But luckily for us, you see a huge warehouse and FCP had almost every part that we needed. We've run out of time to tune the car, so it's still on the base map, but we did get to hear it through the Akrapovič and Supersprint combination on this exhaust, and it's absolutely insane. I can't wait to dial in the tune and hear it at full chat. For now, the truck is arriving in about an hour. It's going to take the car to our friends at I&D, and they're going to complete some of the aesthetic work on the car to make sure that it's ready for SEMA. So stay tuned and see how we get on. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please remember to smash that like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you want to join the conversation, please drop a comment below and we'll try our best to respond to you. If you want to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you want to watch what YouTube thinks you might like from our other content, you can do so over here.